Well, here we are. Welcome to the backyard, doing our first maple syrup boil. It's a beautiful day today. It's been cold recently, but quite a nice day for this. I got pans all filled up. I got kindling ready. Put a little canopy here just in case of inclement weather, but that's not going to happen. So let's light this up and get going. So we just lit it. When you light it, there is a fair amount of smoke coming out of where it shouldn't. But once the chimney heats up, you do get a pretty good flow of exhaust. And I'll tuck that brick in a little bit more. There's a piece of wood in the way. And then with these bricks, I set them up obviously so the pans are sitting on the rim. But I blocked it off with some mud there because the brick was far enough back that the hole of the cinder block was exposed, so smoke could have gone through that hole and out the outside. So I just wanted to seal it off a little bit. Well, the fire's been going a few minutes. It's a little different than my last test run because the middle one's the hottest. That may be because I had the air wide open, so a lot of the flames might have just kind of been shooting back rather than up first and then over. But either way, it doesn't really matter. We'll figure it out. And what I'm going to get in a few minutes is a little piece of butter, because apparently if you smear the edge of the pan with butter, it'll prevent the foam from foaming up and overflowing and boiling over. So the plan is, once this boils down a bit, we'll just use the ladle, transfer sap from the warm to the medium to the hot, which in this case is that pan, that one, then that one. Things may change around, I don't know, we'll figure it out. But it's burning good, no smoke really coming out from the seams. That chimney is working real well. So I've done 2 transfers so far. I've put 4 more gallons in it. Each, I put one of those pots in there, and that's about 2 gallons. So I am going 1, 2, 3. Just happens that one seems to be a little hotter. Looks the hottest now because I just put some cold sap in there. You see there's definitely a color difference starting. So as I'm watching this boil, I was trying to figure out the gallons per hour that I'm evaporating, and I've been doing this for about 2 hours now, and I've taken about 10 gallons out of my barrel, my collection barrel, and there's maybe 6 gallons in here, so I don't know, 4 to 6, so that's roughly 2 or 3 gallons an hour, I'm gonna say, and I think that's pretty good from what I remember from my researching. So as I've been doing this, I've learned a thing or two. I do have, I showed in one of my previous videos, I have this horizontal cinder block here as an air intake, but you know, to modulate the flame, I put these blocks in front of it. But there's so many other cracks and gaps that the fire gets tons of oxygen. And I noticed, let's say the boiling gets a little too fierce, you want to calm it down a bit, you can't block the air off anymore. I noticed that when I took the top block off to feed the flames, or feed the fire, it actually cooled everything down quite rapidly. And I imagine that's because even though it's giving it more oxygen, a lot more of the heat is just going free to go right up the chimney or just come out the front. So just something good to keep in mind. Say you throw too much wood on there and it gets a little crazy, starts boiling over a little too much, just open the front and it just exhausts out a lot of the heat. with everything blocked off, the flames and heat travel slower and transfer more heat to what you're boiling. So something else I've learned, and I don't really have the answer to it, is why one tree produces better than the other. I have a real big maple back there, and I've hardly gotten any sap out of it. And I have a tree over there that's my best producer, and then well, actually right next to it, good tree there, and right next to it there's a tree that I just took the barrel or the bucket off, didn't have any sap flowing at all. This tree hardly flows any sap, but this tree here, I just tapped this like an hour ago, and look how much is in there. That's dripping like crazy. So there's some factors I don't quite know. I mean, this tree is skinnier than that one. The amount of foliage or branches are about the same. But that's something else interesting to look into. And if you know something I don't, leave a comment down below. Well, there's roughly 20 gallons of sap. It's all in there now. It's not blowing like crazy. I just put some wood on. It's a little bit cool for a moment. But just gonna keep on going. I have my pot filled with water now. So once I transfer all of the medium sap into the finishing pan, I'll just pour water in there, and same goes for the warming tray. I figured that was the easiest thing to do. I could also put like a sheet of metal over there, sheet metal, but I think just water in it is just going to be the easiest thing to do. And we still have a ways to go with the finished sap. If I take a little bit of it, you can still see it's still pretty thin. I'm going to boil this down as much as I feel comfortable on this, which is not entirely controllable. Might keep the fire a little bit lower so I can, you know, keep a little closer eye on it. And we'll check it with a refractometer, and I'll probably finish it in a pot on the stove just so I can control it a little more and keep a closer eye on it. So here's the refractometer. Basically, you flip this lid up, you put a little drop of the sample on there with the dropper that's in the box, flip that down, and you look through there, and there's a little focus adjustment that I have found doesn't really help focus very much at all. You look through, and on the scale, I'll try to show you with some syrup on there, it'll show you the percent sugar, which is measured in degrees Brix. Brix, B-R-I-X, Brix, I don't know. 1 degree Brix is 1% sugar. I don't really know why they need a special unit for just percentage, but that's just the way it is. So there it is. You see the blue on top turns to white right at the 20 mark, so we're at 20% sugar right now. Well, now my front and back pans are just straight water. I poured both of them into the middle, and the middle is at 34% sugar. And like I said, I started out with roughly 20 gallons of sap, and it's been 4 hours right now. So that turns out to be 5 gallons an hour of evaporation. Not really counting what's left in there, obviously. But I don't know, before I said 3 to 4, now I'm saying 5. You know, it's a ballpark. But I think that's pretty good just for home gamer cinder blocks. One problem I did notice on one of the front cinder blocks there, that one, it broke from the heat. Luckily it's holding together. But if I were to do this, you know, who knows, these side blocks are probably kind of compromised too. So if this really becomes a thing, I think I'll take the dimensions of this firebox, because these dimensions are working really well for an even heat, and I can replicate that in a metal firebox, whether I use a 55-gallon drum or some other metal thing, or make it plate steel, who knows. So it really is amazing how fast this is going. We're at 45% sugar right now, and we got a fair amount in there. The other thing I want to comment on is I'm just amazed, even for this, inefficient, thrown together setup, I'm amazed at how little wood I went through to boil off 20 gallons of sap. I had this little pallet, it's not even a whole pallet, it's like 2/3 of one. I had it stacked about a foot high with wood, and that's about all I used. So it's just, I mean, nothing, absolutely nothing. I collected this huge pallet of slab wood from the farm, from the sawmill, expecting, well, firstly I was expecting a lot more sap from the trees, but I was expecting to go through a lot more wood as well. But anyway, so that's cool. I like that. Firewood is kind of a pain to deal with, so the less you have to do, the better. So I got this finishing on the stove. This is kind of strange. I'm not quite sure what's going on, but I tested this with the refractometer right before I started heating it up, and even though it was 57% when I took it off of the evaporator outside, as it sat here on the counter, room temperature, maybe a little bit warmer, it was 64%. So I only needed to boil off just a little bit to make it the 66, 67. I just got this to a boil for a few minutes, and I checked it. Now I'm at 75%, and I don't think I hardly evaporated any water off. So I let it sit, and I put a little drop in there, and then I just let it sit for a while. I'm thinking maybe the temperature will make a difference on the reading, and well, it didn't make a difference. It did not. So who knows? I really think it's strange that I decreased the percentage by 10% just in a few minutes of bubbling. So I put a little bit of sap back in there, and I'm letting it boil again, and hopefully we'll dial it in right at 65% or so. I have some jars here just sterilizing, and can it, and that'll be that. Well, here it is, everybody. We got just a hair over a quart. Those are pints and half pints, and just a little bit extra. That's not a canning jar. We're just going to keep that in the fridge for use right now. So I didn't video any of the process because I had my hands full, but I treated the jars and lids just as if I was canning anything else. Got the syrup boiling, poured it in, and screwed the lid on. And the lids should pop. None of them have. So I don't know, maybe I didn't have the syrup quite hot enough, but it really doesn't matter anyway. Everything's boiled, everything's sterile, and the sugar content is so high, nothing is really going to grow in there or spoil it. So it doesn't really matter. But anyway, that's it, and man, that is some dark syrup. You can't see anything through it. Even that little jar. So it's delicious. It was very successful. I still got the buckets on the trees. Hopefully do another batch in a week or two. And that's it. So hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you learned something, and hope it helps you out. Thanks for watching, and hit the subscribe button over there. Come on back for more.